The movie is set 3 months prior to the conclusion of World War II. A tent is shown in which 5 people were there, and their leader's name was Don. One of the 5 commanders died while fighting with the German army. He martyred for his country, and now 4 people were left. This was the time when the German army was being defeated. The American military really pushes the Germans around. From there, they depart and enter the camp, where many other Americans were there. One of their companions has died, so they need another companion. For this purpose, a soldier is sent to their camp named Norman. He approaches the leader Don and he says, "No, you can't be our 5th companion with us." He was quite young and he has no experience of fighting with the enemy. Norman says that the officer has sent me and I'll work with you now. Don asks since when you've joined the army, and he replied since 8 weeks. He is a clerk, he types, and has no idea about the tank. While showing his tent, Don tells him that this is our house. Go there, but avoid approaching anyone. Because Don knows that his 3 companions won't accept him as soon. When Norman goes there, and after bringing out the book from his bag, they begin to check. After seeing this, Norman says, "Give me this as my book." The soldier asks him to bring a cigarette, and Norman replies that he doesn't take cigarettes. He says that it is impossible, you're lying. One of them asks, "Have you ever been to tank school?" And Norman replies, "No, I've never seen a tank from inside," and they ask him to go in the tank. Norman was sent to clean the tank from the inside. While cleaning the tank, he begins to vomit after seeing the blood. He comes out and begins to vomit, and Don could see this all. After seeing him, he understands that his heart is weak and sensitive. He makes him understand that we've to kill each German. They're our enemies. If you don't kill them, they'll kill you. Later, they proceed further by taking their 5 tanks and their army. They've to enter Germany, and while going, they see many Germans walking on foot. Since they refrain from causing harm to ordinary civilians, they continue on their way. 5 of their tanks move ahead toward the forest way. While going from there, some soldiers attack their tanks, and one of their tanks caught fire. They kill all of those soldiers. Here it was Norman's fault. Because that soldier has approached from his side, if he wanted to fire at him, he could. But he didn't shoot him as the age of the enemy was quite young. Don becomes ragged and he yells at Norman. He says, "Norman, what you've done, you should have killed him, he came from your side," and Norman replies sacredly that he was a kid. Don replies, "See, what that kid has done, he's burned our tank and our companions were killed." One of their tanks was damaged, and they proceed further by taking their 4 tanks. They reach a place where Germans and Americans were engaged in a fight. Don meets an officer there. He informs him that a few of our soldiers are stuck somewhere. "I've sent some tanks for their aid, but the Germans have destroyed all the tanks." He asks Don, "Could you save those tanks?" and Don replies, "Yes, I can save them." Because Don was quite brave and this officer already knows him, now, Don proceeds further by taking his 4 tanks and some soldiers. While going, they see smoke blowing from a place and they take their tanks towards there. There were many American soldiers there, and this was the place where the soldiers of that officer were stuck, where they have to come. All the soldiers begin to approach the tanks. Germans attack them and they counterattack in return as well. There was a German tank that destroys all other tanks. The tank attacks them, but they destroy that tank on Don's instruction. There was another tank there and they begin to fire at that tank after seeing it. There were many corpses and Norman's companion asked him to kill them after seeing them. Norman questions how he could possibly kill them because they are already dead corpses. "How can you say they are dead?" he responds. "What if they fire after standing up?" Norman feels hurt as his heart was weak and he couldn't kill anyone. Norman says, "I give up and I can't do it." His companion convinces him by saying that, "I know that this is not a good thing. But we have to do," and after killing the Germans they win over them. Don tells Norman that the seat you're sitting in was previously occupied by my brave soldier. Today you're seated at his place, and I've promised my fellows to keep them alive. You're becoming a hurdle every time, and Norman tells him that I've only worked as a clerk yet. I've only typed, I didn't learn how to fire the bullets on the dead people. He says I'm sorry, and I'll be careful next time. They apprehend a German soldier who is dressed in an American coat. He brings that man to Don, and after giving the gun to Norman and asks him, take this gun and bruise his body with the gun, and Norman replies, no, I can't do this. Don asks why you can't do this, and he replies, because that this is wrong. You've not come here to decide good or bad but to kill them. Do you know why he has come here? He has come to kill you. After beating Norman, he insists him to kill him, otherwise he'll kill you. You must overcome your shyness within to come out of this all. Take this gun and kill him. Still Norman says that I can't do this. You can kill me, and now Don holds Norman. From his gun, he forcibly shoots the gun and kills that German. There, Norman is lying down dejected and helpless. Don appears to be a harsh man, yet he is not, because he is also a human. After seeing his friends die and killing others, he experiences pain in every battle. After going aside, he sobs, but neither he lets anyone feel it nor tell anyone. Because there's no cost to humanity, and they have to win this war at any cost. To defeat the Germans, and Norman was quite upset and was crying a lot. Don approaches him and tells him, I don't see you eating anything since the morning, take something to eat, and they later leave from there. They reach a city where many Germans were, and they fight them. Norman also kills many people there, and he changed himself. Because he realizes that we've to kill them, otherwise they'll kill us. They win once more, and Don's officer informs him that they'll stay here tonight and depart the following morning. Later Don approaches Norman and tells him that you've killed the enemies. Was that easy? And Norman says yes, it was easy. Honestly, I really enjoyed that because I killed the enemies for sake of my country. Later, they go at a house because they've to stay there tonight. There was a lady and a cousin. The cousin was extremely beautiful. Don gives some cigarettes and eggs to the cousin. There was a big piano there, and there were some notes to play piano. Norman knows to play piano, so he begins to play the piano with notes. After listening to the piano music, the cousin of the lady becomes happy, because the piano and the music notes belong to her. So, after coming to Norman, after playing the piano, later, Norman and the girl begin to talk to each other in a room. Actually, they begin to like each other, and later, they all dine together. Later, 3 people from their tank come and begin to worry Norman. Don stops them after being angry with them, and they later apologize. Meanwhile, a soldier arrives and informs them that there is a mission for them. And you have to come, and they all go from there after hearing this. The lady's cousin becomes sad and asks Norman to come back soon. The soldier who worried Norman says, have you come here to marry? Come up with me. We have to do much more, and he drags him from there. After coming out, Don comes to his officer, who informs him, our plane has seen the soldiers of the enemy approaching the mountains. So, go and safeguard the mountains. Don asks what kind of army that is. Do they have tanks? The officer responded, I have no knowledge about that. I am aware of the German soldiers approaching the mountains, so you've to reach there before them to fire guns at them. So, they become afraid and couldn't reach the mountains. Because our people and doctors are there, and if they reach there it will be a massive killing. Do something you want to do, because you're everything now, our last hope. Later, Don prepares to go along with his companions. Later, they have been attacked by air bombs and they scattered. Norman goes under a tank, and after the bombardment ends and Norman comes out, he notices the house where the lady and her cousin lived. Because of the bombs, it has been destroyed after being broken. He rushes there and sees the girl has died there. Norman becomes quite upset and cries a lot. Meanwhile, a man in his tank takes him from there and seated him in the tank. Later, along with the 4 tanks, they approach the mountains. Meanwhile, a powerful tank attacks them, which was the most powerful tank of this war. Only Germans have that, and they proceed further to destroy that tank. That tank destroys their 3 tanks one by one and kills their numerous soldiers. The tank in with Don and his companions it is named Fury. Don destroys that powerful tank with a fury it tanks along with his 4 friends. Norman also kills them brutally as he becomes a soldier completely. He doesn't think before killing anyone, and later while approaching, a huge explosion hit there, and as a result, the chain of their tank broke. The tank couldn't proceed and they exit the tank, and a man says that he can fix it. Don asks Norman to go to that mountain and keep an eye from there. Inform us if someone comes, and Norman goes to the mountain after taking his gun to guard. While protecting there, he notices a large army of Germans approaching there. He rushes toward Don and informs him that a large German army is approaching us. Don asks how many people will be there, and he says there might be 200 or 300 people. Don asks do they have tanks, and he replies that they don't have tanks but trucks. One of them says they might be cowards running from there. Norman says no, they were singing a song and it appears as if they want to fight. Including Norman, the soldiers of the 4 tanks prepare to leave from there. Don says that I'll not go by leaving this tank, this is my house. You all may go through the mountainous way, I'll face them alone. They try to make him understand, but Don doesn't listen to anyone. He climbs on his tank and gets ready with his gun. Seeing this, Norman also climbs on the tank and says I'll stay with you. Although they know that staying here means death, but they decide to stay there. Not only this, they can't contact their army because their radio has been damaged. The rest of the 3 also come inside the tank and decide to stay strong. No matter how large the army, they will choose to battle. Before entering, they keep some corpses outside. Therefore, the Germans will consider them all dead when they arrive. And their tank has also been destroyed, and after entering they give Norman a new name. This refers to the point that they've completely accepted Norman. The German soldiers arrive there when they all were inside the tank. As a German soldier opens the cover of the tank, Don's soldier shoots him. Additionally, he throws a bomb outside, which causes it to explode. Later, they begin to shoot them with the tank and attack them from the top of the tank. As a result, the German soldiers run around to save them. But they kill numerous German soldiers with their Fury tanks. But it was almost impossible to fight such a large army with a damaged tank. Later, 3 of their soldiers got martyred for their county. In the tank, only Norman and Don were left, and Don was also hit by a gun. Norman tells Don that I should surrender and that I must hand over myself to them. Don says don't do this, they'll terribly kill you. There is a route down, open it and proceed inside the tank. Norman does it, and after opening that way he goes inside the tank. A German soldier throws a bomb there after coming. After it erupts, Don martyrs for his country. The Germans look around to see if any American soldiers are still present. A soldier looks down the tank and finds Norman, but he has pity for him. He doesn't want to kill the single soldier. For this reason, the German soldier goes from there. The next day, American soldiers come there and see an American soldier alive in Don's Fury tank. Norman was taken by an ambulance from there and his life was rescued in this way. The 5 soldiers fought such a war in Fury tank. For this reason, they've been left alive forever on the pages of history. This true movie ends with this.